Hi friends, I'm Sonia and I'm back with a new lesson for you today. Well, this lesson is all about continuous tenses. It's all about how to form continuous tenses. Now, quite often I've seen that people have a tough time understanding how to form a sentence when talking about an action that was either going on or happening in the present or will happen in the future. Alright? So today we are going to discuss about how easy and how simple it is to form continuous tenses. Now do remember, sometimes in many grammar books you would refer to continuous tenses as progressive tenses. Okay? So don't get confused, both continuous and progressive mean absolutely the same thing. Okay? Now, remember one thing. When you're talking about a continuous action, it can happen in the past, it can happen in the present, it can also happen in the future, correct? So what we're going to start off with is to learn about past continuous sentences. Now when I say past, what do I mean? I mean that the time has finished and the action is also complete. Okay? However, when I say past continuous, I mean that the time has passed but the action, okay, was going on at that point in time. Now in order to make past continuous simple for you, I have a trick, and that is a good structure or a formula that you could use. Now my formula says that you put the subject. Now what could be the subject? Something like I, you, we, they, he, she, or someone's name. Okay, remember that. A subject always is the start of a sentence. And then because we are talking about the past, we would use was or were. After that, you would put in the verb and then the ing. So what are verbs? Verbs are simple action words like go, come, play, eat, watch, sing, etc. So remember guys, past continuous, something that was happening in the past, you would use the subject, was or were, the verb and then ing. Now my first example says, I was eating breakfast. Over here, I is the subject. Now because I've used I, I'm using was. Over here, eat is your verb and then you added ing to it, which means that I was doing something. What was I doing? I was eating breakfast. The action was going on in the past. The next example is, they were playing football. Okay? Now because I've used they as the subject, I'm using were. Remember, you could use was or were. So with they, I'm using were. Play is your verb, and because I was playing or the action was going on, I added ing. As simple as that. So they were playing football. The final one says, Peter was preparing a presentation. Because I'm using Peter as the subject in this sentence, I'm using was. What I've done here is I've contracted prepare plus ing and I say preparing because the action was going on at that point in time. If you notice here, because I've contracted these two words, the E goes off and it becomes preparing. So he was preparing a presentation. In all these three sentences, something was going on in the past. Alright? Now you can also make these sentences negative. What if something wasn't going on or wasn't happening? Then how would you change it? Well, that's even simpler. All you do is you add the word not. Okay, so for example, I was not eating breakfast. They were not playing football. Or Peter was not preparing a presentation. What I can also do, guys, is I can contract was and not and make it wasn't. So let me write that for you. was plus not becomes wasn't. Or I can also contract were and not and make it weren't. Just like this. So remember, if you're talking about something that was happening, an action that was going on in the past, you can use was and were, verb and ing. If you want to make it negative, you can add a not and make it wasn't. You can add a not to were and make it weren't. The other thing that you could also keep in mind is, when do you use was and when do you use were, okay? So if you look at this sentence, I was and Peter was. So with subjects like I, okay, he, she or someone's name, you would use was. But if in your subject you have they, you, we, then you would use were. So remember, I, he, she or someone's name was. You, we, they, you would use were. As simple as that. There you have your past continuous tense. Now if you've understood this, we'll look at how to form present continuous and the future continuous tenses. So guys, just like we looked at the past continuous tense, what we're going to look at now is the present continuous and the future continuous tenses. Now what do I mean when I say present continuous? I mean an action that is going on at the moment, in the current time. Okay, let me write that down for you. So an action which is happening in the present. Okay, remember this. The present continuous also has a similar formula. You'll use your subject if you remember I, you, we, they, he, she, it or someone's name. You'll use is, am or are plus the verb and the ing form as usual. That has to be there because it is continuous. You would use is when you're using your subject as he, she or someone's name. You would use am when your subject is I. You would use are when your subject has you, we or they. Keep this in mind, it's extremely important. So if you look at my example for you, I am watching a movie. Because I used I've used am. Watch plus ing makes this a continuous action going on in the present. How do I know it's present? That's because of am. Next one, Joe is cooking dinner. So I've used the verb cook plus ing. How do I know it's a present tense? Because of is. Okay? Now remember, even here, if you want to make these sentences negative, simply use the word not. So I am not watching a movie, or Joe is not cooking dinner. Similarly, if you want to make it shorter, you would say is plus not becomes isn't. Alright? Are plus not becomes aren't. And whenever you use am, there's no way of contracting it. So it will always be I am not. There's no way of shortening that. You can only contract is and not and make it isn't, are and not and make it aren't. But remember, the constant thing is the verb plus the ing to show continuous. The next tense we have is the future continuous. Okay? Now when will you use the future continuous? When you're talking about something that is going to happen, some kind of a future plan. So let's jot that down. This is a future plan, something that is going to happen in the coming time. Over here, it's extremely simple because irrespective what your subject is, I, you, we, they, he, she, someone's name, you would always use will plus be. Remember, this little word be is extremely important. That's how the subject agrees. The subject plus will plus be. And one more time your verb, okay, plus your ing to indicate it's a continuous tense. So for example, she will be going to the market tomorrow. So if you notice will plus the all-important be. And I use the verb go plus ing to indicate going, continuous. So she will be doing something, she will be going to the market tomorrow in the future. The next example, they will be waiting for you at the mall. So even though I've used they, over here I've used she, I've used they here. However, remember I told you you will use will everywhere and will be. You've used the verb which is wait plus ing to indicate a continuous action. So they will be waiting for you at the mall. So this is how you can make present continuous and future continuous tenses. Similarly, if you want to make a future continuous sentence negative, what will you do? I think you should know by now. You'll simply add the word not. Okay? So, she will not be going to the market tomorrow. All right? And they will not be waiting for you at the mall. Also, you can contract will plus not and make it won't. Remember, you can contract will and not and make it won't. As simple as that, guys. If you notice, if you follow this particular structure that I've given you, it'll be really easy to form continuous or progressive tenses. It's a very important tense, very useful in spoken English. Do make sure that you go through this lesson thoroughly, practice your English speaking, alright? I'll be back soon with a new lesson. Till then, you guys take care and have a nice day.